African Union was there to decolonize and develop African countries, although it failed to develop their economies, and this was due to some conflicts. And then the Organization of African Union had no capacity to handle conflicts, and thereby African Union had to introduce what we call African Standby Force. As African Union, it's responsible for peace, support operations, management, and resolution of conflicts using the force. This force, I mean the African Standby Force. And the African Union has what we call, these are regional economic communities and regional mechanisms that are there simply to prevent, manage, and resolve conflicts. As African Standby Force was to be formed by the regional economic communities and regional mechanisms, African Union, the regional economic communities and regional mechanisms met way back in July 2005. That was in Addis Ababa. And that's why they adopted the roadmap for the implementation of African Standby Force and formed these bodies. One is North African. These are communities. This one is the North. ECOWAS is Economic Community of West African Security. ECAS, this one is in ECAS is it's in the West. It's in the West Africa, Western region, and ECAS simply means Economic Community of Central Africa countries. And this one is there basically to build on economics and political ties. So they came up with those, and lastly was East African Standby Force. As communicated, those are the 4 standby forces that were created, and ours being now the East African Standby Force that comprises of these other countries you're seeing here. Around 10 of them. As I have indicated, these are the so-called East African Standby Forces regions. So these are the countries that make that force. As a continuation, the African Union regional military advice political mission is always made in 30 days. Then there's an observer mission that is deployed with the United Nations that also must be there within 30 days. Also, we have the standby alone African Union Regional Observer Mission, the same days, as you can see on the slide. I would say African intervention, for example, in the genocide or humanitarian crisis situation where the international community does not act promptly. So here we always respond within the 14 days of time when you are given the notes to move. African Peacekeeping Force for complex multidimensional peacekeeping missions, including those involving low-level spoilers, that one is not normally handled within the 90 days. Then there's also humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, operation designed for responding to major natural disasters, climate-related emergencies, and environmental crises that overwhelm individual member states. Examples as continents, there is a roster that is there that at least 2 standby forces are supposed to be operational. It's a roster that is there, and as specified, you can see from January to June, we have, this is the Southern Africa Standby Force. This is the Central Africa Standby Force. This is the East Standby Force, as you can see on the slide. So they made a roster that at least every year we have 2 forces that are on standby. As you can see, the abbreviations are there and read through. As a rapid deployment capability, African Standby Force roadmap specifies the creation of RDCs. Those are rapid deployment capabilities. And here headquarters, RDC is part of them. And the rapid development capability will be part of the regional force that will deploy in advance, while the rest of the force deploys as follow-on force. Here what I mean as URDC, we are made in case of any eventuality, we're supposed to respond within the 14 days time as we wait for maybe other forces to come. Because we must be there in 14 days time to try to handle the situation. In case we are not yet managed, then we add in up to 60 days. But within the 90 days, we make sure that at least we are ready to hand over maybe the hand of the situation and the other force is ready to take on or to be reinforced with any other force. And I would say each of these, each of these economic communities and regional mechanisms have to have the rapid deployment capability, at least capabilities within the East African region. The establishment of rapid deployment capability concept has been done in consistency with African Standby Force approved policy documents, that is doctrine, logistics, standing operation procedures, training and evaluation, etc. As rapid deployment capability is an integral part of the regional standby force or regional standby capability, as well as regional African capability, and we fall in those categories. As I earlier communicated, the regional economic communities and regional mechanisms, they provide these deployment capabilities from within its standby force. As I earlier communicated, that force must be ready to respond within 14 days time when there is notice to move, NTM notice to move. RDC consists of a multidimensional land, air, and maritime integrated civilian, police, military, and multinational baseline capability configured in accordance with the mission requirements. As one of your head communicated earlier, as rapid deployment capability, mostly here in URDC, we don't work alone as soldiers. We have both the civilian component and the police component. So we work as a team to respond in all eventualities. That's when we are, at times we are guided whether we should respond to the eventuality or we shouldn't. So there is always that communication that is always relayed so that we are able to handle the situations that are supposed to be handled. Adaptable, flexible to any scenario. You see the scenarios. Multi-scenario trained all circumstances and terrains. preparedness within 14 days, which minimizes pre-mission training. All these are requirements, rapid deployment capability requirements. Another requirement is we are supposed to be highly mobile, and anywhere, however we're needed, or within 14 days, we should be available to respond. We should have a simple command and control structure. This talks about unit of command within robust mandate, the rule of engagement, and in theater delegation of decision making, all speedily approved by Peace Security Council. Intelligence active, inadequate information intelligence. As a way of this, like as here as headquarters URDC, we have a department called Geospatial Map Department that gathers the information, the intelligence, the real-time intelligence across Africa that is always relayed whenever required. And logistically, we must be self-sustainable for those 30 days until we are joined as earlier communicated. Along the way, you see those capabilities. And the purpose of rapid development capability requirement is for African Union, the nation, to be able to insert a force into crisis area in order to stop or stabilize the situation. I've earlier communicated about that. Establishment, that is a picture that was taken when it was being inaugurated. As a way of bringing you on board, that is our current structure at headquarters Uganda, rapid capability as per our establishment. Sorry. Then I'll give you through the mission is to prepare, deploy, sustain and recover a capability for rapid intervention within Eastern Africa and across the African continent within 90 days in order to stabilize the deteriorating situation in accordance with African Union approved 6 scenarios. As earlier communicated, they have approved 6 scenarios, but there's another 7 scenario that was also put on board, as you will see. And our end state, as URDC, is a fully operational Ugandan rapid development capability, prepared, equipped, supported, formally committed and ready for regional African standby force operations. But as East Africa, we shall be ready to handle any East African East African standby force operation that comes in. And of recent, we had a team that came from the East African standby force headquarters that have come to verify our capabilities, and I'm sure they went with at least a spirit, and we were convinced that we are ready to respond in case we are called. Our roles as URDC, one, URDC provides politically aware military advice to the Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs, Uganda People's Defense Forces, to inform the strategic commitment of UPDF, external joint and combined operations. So, as a headquarters URDC, we give advice to our bosses. We also African Union on other regional and national security mechanisms in order to achieve Uganda's strategic objectives. And this starts here. That's why you find we have most of our forces occupied in operations like in Somalia, in Sudan, Congo, and to mention others. We also, where at least we are able to, that's a communication center that is a system that is around here that is able to gather intelligence across East Africa as well as Africa, so that people coordinating our operations. We develop development and sensitization at Ministry of Defense and Veteran Affairs. This one is conducted through training, trainings. Then as UPDF is also a national focal point for crises, identification, management, and response. Regional and continental operations. Here it's done through training. Like most of our forces are trained in international peace support operation training in Singapore. They are taking commission that they also conduct training there. And at times also have joint trainings with other our sister forces from within East Africa, mostly Kenya, Uganda, and Burundi. I think I ever participated with us. We assigned strategic leadership. The headquarters UPDF general activities, as earlier communicated, indicated as you can see on the slide, and we do other coordination with East African standby force activities. And among the courses handled within UPDF, we do a course of hazmat. Hazmat itself is hazardous material. This is the course that deals with the chemical, biological, radiological things of the sort. CBRN in a short form. Then we do engineering courses and logistic courses, since we are meant to, we have some capability that we are supposed to respond to. Always ensure that those courses are being conducted here. Command and control is also one of the courses that we conduct. And then medical, as I earlier told you that we have a level 2 field medical facility here. Actually we have 2, but one is already in a mission area in Somalia. And we have one that is with us here that we always use to conduct training and then respond to other eventualities that may come in, like the previous COVID was handled during our capability, medical capability. Then we also do communication. As I earlier told you, we have a communication center that will put across and is able to communicate from here up to wherever our forces are deployed. So that's one of the courses we always do. Tournaments are being conducted by UPDF. And then, there's a reputation. Then recovering forces from Somali operations, and also deployment of engineering machines to various projects across. As you've seen, we have a number of machines, so we also support we have like National Economic Enterprise. It's a branch within the Uganda People's Defense Forces, which is a business arm at times, and I have a business of making infrastructure, roads, bridges, and the rest. So at times we reinforce them. Then we will also play the role in fighting COVID-19 using the level 2 field hospital, as I earlier communicated.